Welcome back to another episode in the Echo Studios podcast series. Today we are joined by Noah from BlackThornProd. Noah?
Hey everybody, really glad to be here.
So, Noah, tell us a bit about yourself and your channel for those of us who somehow don't know you.
I'm a game developer, and I make video games using Unity. Really passionate about it. I absolutely love it. I'm kind of an indie game developer, so I usually handle kind of everything that makes up a game. So I do the programming, the art, the game design, kind of write down the story and all that. Ton of fun. I also run a YouTube channel called BlackThornProd, which is kind of focused on game dev, of course. And there I do tutorials about how to make games. I kind of share my knowledge, and I also share my own game dev journey with others. I show how what games I'm making, the progress I've made on my projects. So yeah, I'm just completely in love with game dev. It's such an artistic, wonderful thing. But yeah, I'm just starting out. I'm more or less a beginner. Not really, yeah, kind of like a. I've been doing it for 3 years, and I'm learning all the time, and it's a wild journey so far. So yeah, I look forward to continuing it.
Can't wait to see your progress. So you just released your first commercial game on Steam, The Dreadful Whispers. Tell us about that.
The Dreadful Whispers was a game I made in 8 months. It was my longest project yet. Prior to that, I had made lots and lots of smaller game projects, usually during game jams, which are you have events where you need to make a game in 2, 3, maybe 7 days max, and around a given theme. So those are really lots of fun. I took part in at least like 20 plus game jams. I made lots of smaller projects just to learn new things, learn Unity, learn programming. So I'd made about 30 games before The Dreadful Whispers, and so yeah, The Dreadful Whispers was a massive challenge working on this 8 month project, which is still pretty short. I mean, some game developers work on their game for years and years, but yeah, me, it was this 8 month project. Big difference compared to 1 week, and it's about it's a kind of like a platformer, a 2D platformer game about overcoming fear. So that's a lot of the appeal in the game is about the story, and I think the art. It's not very gameplay. It's not really gamey, not really gameplay heavy. There's not much challenge, not too much challenge involved. It's more about the worlds, the art, the story, and of course the beautiful music that was made by Dave Allen. So yeah, it was a massive challenge, but I'm so glad I went through with it.
It sounds brilliant and it looks brilliant. Obviously, your specialty is art. What was it like creating so much art from scratch and then finally seeing all your hard work pay off?
Oh, it was very gratifying, of course, seeing the game completed. Of course, when working on a longer project, it's always a bit challenging to have perspective and see your art from a good light, because you've been working on it, for so long and improving it and stuff. So all you can see at some point are the flaws and how the art might not be like entirely polished here and there. But I think now that the game has been released for about 2 months, looking back on it, I'm really proud of what I was able to create. Obviously, I feel like I can improve in so many ways, but I think I still did a good job on it. But yeah, the art, it started a certain way, and throughout development, again, because you're constantly progressing while making your game, so you constantly feel like you can make the art better. So the art was constantly evolving, adding particles, making the colors more vibrant. It was I had a lot of experience drawing digital art in Photoshop before making the Dreadful Whispers, so I was pretty effective at making art. But it was still a lot of work. But I love it. I love it. Listening to music, just kind of chilling out, making art. It's pretty cool, so I can't complain.
It is honestly just a brilliant game.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
So, obviously, game design is your forte. So, let's bring ourselves onto the main topic, which is what makes a game unique. Talk to us about art, design, music, everything that makes a game, and everything that makes it stand out and be one of its own.
Oh well. I mean, I am also learning about this. I don't think I've got all the answers whatsoever to like make a unique, really amazing game. I'm still learning about all that and trying to make something that really stands out, that's really epic. But what I did learn through my short 3-year game dev career so far is that yeah, you've got to just, I think, focus on having fun. That's the main part. That's because it's your job, is what you're going to be doing all the time. So if you're enjoying yourself and really trying to put like a personal touch to it, really trying to put yourself in it, the game will always end up unique. It's also important not to only inspire yourself of other games. That's if you only inspire yourself from other games, then you'll easily end up with a kind of like a clone of some existing game or a mashup or something. So I think it is a good idea to also get inspiration from music, from movies, or just from like life experiences or traveling. That's really, because those experiences are unique. They're not games in themselves, but if you can actually turn those other unique experiences into a game, then it's more likely to end up into something really original.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, when you were working on the Dreadful Whispers,
Okay.
what did you put the most amount of time into?
A lot of time was on the art, of course, and maybe the story, writing down the story and trying to figure out the whole world where it takes place in. I think the story, I did a pretty good job. Maybe it wasn't very clear. I think a lot of people didn't really understand the story also, so I've got a far way to go on that point as well. But yeah, art, story, and also just all the polishing and like fixing bugs. That's just a huge part of the process. We really underestimate the time it'll take to get rid of all the little bugs and add all those little bits and pieces of polish, like nice scene transitions and making sure there's little particles when you land on the ground on a platform. Figuring out how to make nice menus and a UI that fits different screen resolutions, making the music transition nicely. All those little things, all these little details, definitely made for a good couple months of work. And I made the game in about 8 months, but I would say the core of the game was kind of done in maybe 6 months. 6 months, yeah. And the last 2 months were just pure polishing and fixing little things here and there.
Got it. Sounds incredible.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the funnest part, I must say. Polishing, it could be really cool. It definitely could be very fulfilling, and just seeing your game get this nice shiny look and feel to it. But it can also be very tedious. So it's something to be aware of.
So we were talking with Couch Ferret, and we came to the topic of how when you start a game, you always think, oh, it'll only take me a few weeks, but it ends up taking you many, many, many more times that. When you started the Dreadful Whispers, what was your original sort of time frame that you had set in mind for your development period?
Oh man, I constantly thought that the game was going to be done. I started it in end December of last year, and so by January I launched the first devlog video on my channel. And I think at that time I was sure the game would be done by March, so in 3 months. And obviously it was not done by March whatsoever. And so in March I was saying, it's going to be done by April. I constantly felt like the game basically was almost done when in fact it wasn't. So, and I think that helps with motivation, because if I genuinely realized how much work I had to do, for example, in February or March, I might have just given up on the game. So always having that feeling that it was almost done, I think helped push me forward. But I think that's just something you get better at with practice. The more games you make, the better you are at evaluating how much time it might take to complete it.
Fantastic. So I'm actually going to ask you a question here.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, what is your personal favourite game, aside from your own, and why?
I would say my top favourite games, there's 2 games that always come to my mind when people ask me this question. It's Hollow Knight and Spelunky. Those are my all-time legendary favorite games. Absolutely love them. Spelunky is this random is this roguelike platformer. It's one of the first ever. I think the first roguelike platformer ever, and it was just blew my mind. I love how it blended actual handmade level design with randomness. It just made for this fantastic world. All the characters and enemies interact with each other. So enemies can literally attack each other, or traps can kill enemies, and a weapon can be used to kill enemies, or it can be thrown. Everything's just kind of speaking this language and interacting with each other. So you ended up with all these weird interactions happening that I know the game developer didn't necessarily intend to have happened, but it made for a very exciting experience. And of course, Hollow Knight is just this huge Metroidvania, and all these games were made by like tiny teams of 2-3 people. So that's of course extra inspiring. But yeah, Hollow Knight, this massive world, beautifully animated. The art is amazing, outstanding. The lore, the combat. I mean, if you're listening to this, just type Spelunky, type Hollow Knight, and buy and play these games. They're amazing.
You can really see the inspiration of these games in the Dreadful Whispers as well.
Oh yeah, well.
When I was looking at Hollow Knight, I could just see. I was just thinking, oh my god, this has so much of the Dreadful Whispers in it, and that means that your game's even so much better.
Yeah, I think a lot less people see a lot less of Spelunky in it, because obviously my game is not a roguelike. It's not necessarily it's not ultra fun. My game, I think the strong points of the game are the art and the adventure, and have the unique mechanics it has throughout the game. But yeah, so Spelunky definitely didn't inspire the Dreadful Whispers too much. But Hollow Knight was, of course, a massive inspiration, especially for the atmosphere, the general atmosphere.
Yeah.
Like the music and the NPCs, how they speak. Just that overall vibe, I think, unconsciously passed on to the Dreadful Whispers. And I also had a great time adding little Easter eggs of all my favourite games to the Dreadful Whispers. Like, there's an Easter egg for Hollow Knight, for Spelunky, for Super Meat Boy, The Binding of Isaac, all these little love letters in my game, which was, a lot of fun.
It really adds a lot to the depth of the lore and adds a lot of feel to the game as well.
Oh, yeah.
So I've got a little question for you, and that is, who would you love to collaborate with that you haven't collaborated with already?
Oh, if I can choose anybody, I would say, the creators of Hollow Knight or Spelunky. It would be them, or Edmund McMillen, who made Super Meat Boy and The Binding of Isaac. Those are easily you're huge favourites of mine as well. I don't like them as much as Hollow Knight or Spelunky, but they're still like legendary games. I just adore them. And Edmund McMillen, the creator, such a fascinating, awesome guy. Like, I interviewed him. I was lucky enough to talk to him for 1 hour myself, and it was awesome. And all his interviews are very inspiring. So Edmund McMillen, or Team Cherry, or Derek Yu. Those would be my top collaborators, I think.
For sure. So the next question we've basically already covered, but when it comes to game design, do you prefer the actual art making in Photoshop or the layout doing in Unity? Obviously you plan it out a bit first in Photoshop, but which part do you prefer more?
Oh, well, I think kind of both in different ways. Sometimes I like just drawing in Photoshop. Sometimes I really do enjoy placing everything in Unity. It kind of depends on my mood, I guess. Maybe for the Dreadful Whispers in general, I liked the layout kind of art more. I liked drag and dropping things into the scene and making it all nice, because kind of individually each sprite of the Dreadful Whispers isn't that impressive. It doesn't look that epic or cool. But it's when you put everything together that the world feels nice and interesting. So I think for the Dreadful Whispers, there's definitely the layout level kind of design and art part more than just painting everything individually in Photoshop.
For sure. So when you released the Dreadful Whispers, obviously it did extremely well when it came out. How did you feel when you saw how it did commercially?
I think it did pretty good. I wouldn't say it did extremely well. I mean, I guess for a first release it did. For my first small commercial release it did, it was a success, definitely. I would consider it a success. And that's why I said on my channel cause I shared, my post-release devlogs and stuff. But my reaction was, I was happy. I wasn't over the moon. I wasn't ecstatic about it. But, I was definitely satisfied. I was like, this is definitely good. And I think I'm on the right path, and I'm excited for more game projects and, do better and better, hopefully. I don't think that the amount of money I earned which I'll be really transparent with this. I earned $9,000 in gross revenue, but if you remove like taxes and the 30% cuts that Steam takes, I've really earned just about $5,500, which is okay, but it definitely doesn't make up for the 8 months of work I put
Yeah.
into the game. But the game will still sell over time, even if it's just a little bit. So it's a nice little source of passive income now, which is great. And if one day I do release a really, really successful game, I think people will be very curious to know what I made before that. So the Dreadful Whispers might get huge bursts of sales afterwards. So yeah, it's cool.
Uh, a thing that a lot of people think about you is your incredibly unique art style. How did you come to learn it, and how has your skills developed over time?
Oh, thank you, man. Well, my art style, I think is definitely, my main inspirations for it are Tim Burton and Edmund Macmillan. Those are my top inspirations for the arts, but it just kind of evolves over time. The more you draw, the more it just kind of shapes itself into its own thing. And it's really hard to pinpoint or say how it came to me. Just, I feel like when I draw, just that's how I draw, and it just comes naturally in a way. I think everybody has that. Everybody who just starts drawing, they will have their own unique style. It just comes, and obviously, you're not to look, you're not to try too hard to find your art style. I think it just comes to you. So if you want to focus on something, you've got to more focus on, first of all, of course, enjoying yourself, making lots of arts, really being persistent with that, drawing on a daily or weekly basis, and also maybe trying to practice a bit the basics of drawing, like life drawing and perspective, all those fundamentals that really help you get better at drawing. And I think your unique style will emerge from that. I haven't practiced the basics, the fundamentals that much, so that's something I might maybe do more of in 2020. It could be a New Year resolution: practice more the fundamentals of drawing. But it just kind of naturally came to me, I think.
Awesome. So obviously you've taken part in a lot of game jams over the past, multiple Ludum Dares, you even had your own. What was your favourite game that came out of a game jam?
My favorite game that came out for Game Jam, I would say, is Evolution, which is that planet game where you're basically killing planet Earth. It's a very gloomy game, but I just loved the art style in that game, and I definitely want to take that planet. It's just a very nice planet, and you're placing little buildings on it, and just in all, I feel that looks really cool. I'm sure I can make a great strategy game or
Yeah.
something with that art style. So if I work on a bigger project, I really might want to get that planet with all the little buildings in it. So it just looks great. I think it could really be a cool project. So yeah, Evolution's my favorite jam game, I would say.
I mean, I loved it.
Oh, thank you. I mean, yeah, I made it over a year ago now, and I don't feel like I've made anything quite so cool for during a game jam anyway. I think that the most fun I had during a game jam was when I made the game creation recipe. That was during my own game jam, the BlackThornProd game jam #1. It was kind of like a Zelda-like adventure where you would explore these dungeons. It was made in a week, and I had such an amazing time making the levels and adding little enemies. It was just incredible. So if I make a bigger game, I might want to make my own kind of like Zelda-like big adventure. The problem with that is that it would be a lot of fun to create, but not 100% sure if it would do super well because there's already so many of these type of Zelda-like games, exploration dungeon games. But maybe that's not the most important. Maybe I should just enjoy myself and have fun, because I do already have my YouTube channel, Patreon, so I'm already earning a decent amount of money where I don't need to make any massively successful commercial game. I can still continue doing games that don't sell at all and still be able to continue making games, which is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I myself am a supporter in your Patreon, and
Oh, thank you, thank you.
I
Yeah.
recommend everyone to go check that out because, I mean, this guy works so hard, you work so hard, and it really shows with your high quality content.
Thank you, man. It's really appreciated. It's definitely quite a bit of work, and I think I've definitely reached some points where I was completely burned out because I was working way too much. I think I'm much better with that now. I'm starting to strike this nice balance where I don't feel like I'm overworked. That I'm pretty relaxed most of the time, and trying to take one thing at a time, not trying to multitask too much, focusing on one project after another, and it feels good. We'll all go through these phases where we overwork, but we learn that lesson as part of the journey, and then we get better at managing our time and being more zen.
For sure. Obviously, Unite Copenhagen just happened.
Yeah.
And they announced a lot of new features coming in Unity 2020. What are you most looking forward to seeing?
To be honest, I'm not massively up to date with what there is. I was at Unity Unite, but I was mostly just talking with other YouTubers and other game developers, then focusing on what was coming up. To be honest, I'm still like at Unity 2018. Until a few weeks ago, I was still using Unity 2018 because I was kind of worried of changing Unity version while working on the Dreadful Whispers in case that would bug the game or something. But yeah, I've recently updated to 2019, and I kind of looked at the Brackies video, which is another great game dev channel for those who don't know.
Go check it out, guys.
Yeah, excellent channel. And I think the 2D features obviously are pretty exciting to me, like the lighting system in Unity, and that just is pretty cool. Frankly, I'm overjoyed by how Unity is right now. There's enough amazing tools for me to be happy for forever. And I'm just happy how Unity is right now. So I'm not massively hyped for any new features coming up. But of course, it's just incredible that Unity keep updating their engine and keep improving it. It's fantastic. Everybody should move on to Unity. Drop Unreal right now. Yeah, it's a fantastic engine. And the people behind it are great. I had the luck to meet them all at Unity Unite, or a good portion of the Unity team. And they're just really nice people. Fantastic. So yeah.
I mean, it's really incredible when you think about how involved the people at Unity get with the community. Like, they sponsor Bracky's videos, and they invite you guys to hang out. They invite you to Unite.
They treat us well.
Really good.
Yeah.
You don't see Unreal doing that.
Nope, you don't. No. I tell you, Unity are great. They are super. The fact that they definitely paid for me to come to Unity Unite. They booked the hotel. They fed me at delicious restaurants, and it was just pretty amazing. I cannot complain.
All right, I'm gonna ask you a few questions now.
Go for it, shoot.
Okay, so that is, can you give 5 tips to new game developers?
5 tips? Okay, well, one maybe is don't compare yourself. That is super important, because what you're going to make initially, it's almost unavoidable. You're going to make a lot of kind of crappy things before ever making something good. So you got to go through that maybe for the first few months, year. You're going to just even years. I myself, I'm still kind of going through that, where you're going to not necessarily make great work. Your taste is going to be amazing. You're going to have an amazing vision, perhaps, but what you actually create on paper might not be that great. So don't compare yourself to the legends of this industry or to other games. Just focus on the progress you make, from month to month, week to week, and if you see that you're progressing, that what you're doing is better than what you were doing yesterday, that's already amazing. So yeah, comparison can be pretty destructive, especially as a beginner at any level. But yeah, when a beginner especially. Next up, learn to finish projects. That's super important. If you start something, and I really recommend that what you start making is very, very small, even if it sounds ridiculous or boring, like the cliche Flappy Bird clone game. Just create that, and if you finish it, it's going to give you that boost in confidence. You're going to learn a lot of things. So yeah, finish games. I think one thing that can help with finishing projects is taking part in game jams, like Ludum Dare, like the many game jams that are hosted on the itch.io website. Game jams are an excellent way because they give you that kind of time pressure, which some beginners might shy away from. They might be like, "Ooh, that's scary," and I could never finish a game in a weekend. But really, they can, and it's going to teach them so much. Just having that nice time pressure. They won't overscope their project. It'll be something nice and decent. It won't be really ambitious, and they'll have a great community all around them backing them up. So yeah, so comparison, finish your project, super important. Tip number 3, let me think. Yeah, just be confident that you can master any skill. Just try and gain that confidence. Know that, from my experience, for example, I was just complete crap. I hated programming. I didn't want to touch it whatsoever. Like, I was scared of it, so I'd have my brother code our games, and I would just focus on the art and animation and game design and stuff. But then, at some point, I needed to learn programming. I wanted to be able to prototype my games faster and so on. And, I was able to learn it with great tutorials. There's so many amazing tutorials nowadays on fantastic channels all over. So yeah, there's no excuse. You can learn any skill, be that programming, drawing. Just be consistent. It's really hard initially, but if you do it day after day, little by little, you're gonna be amazing by the end. I mean, look, I didn't know how to program, and 2 years down the road, 2 years and a half, almost 3 years down the road, I launched my first game on Steam, and I did all the programming. So that goes to show, guys, that you can do it too, hands down. Tip number 4. I think those are 3 very important tips. After, it might be a bit more detailed, but a bit more specific. Perhaps learn how to, definitely show your work. Don't be afraid to share your work with other people, be that family, friends, or online, like post your work on Twitter or on YouTube, on itch.io, Newgrounds. Just share it. I think that's really how you improve. How even though it's scary and kind of annoying sometimes to get criticism and feedback and get people kind of like sneering at the game you've possibly spent months or even years on, or okay, hopefully not years as a beginner, but weeks or months on. It's really how you improve. That feedback is going to, not all of it, some of it will just be useless feedback, but some of it definitely will be very helpful. I think posting your work online also helps you become accountable, and you're less likely to just give up on your projects. You get that motivation. Feedback can be really motivating also. So you want to put yourself out there, hopefully get positive feedback, which will push you to keep working on your games and your projects. Like me starting my YouTube channel was just such a massive motivation boost. And I genuinely feel that, who knows, if I hadn't started my YouTube channel, I might not have pursued game dev, but all that positive feedback from the community and stuff definitely pushed me forwards and kept me going even during the lower times. So yeah, that was 4. And number 5 is, I don't know if I didn't say this, of course, just have fun, focus on really enjoying yourself. I mean, games are mostly about having fun, They're when you're playing a game, it's a fun experience. Some games are obviously not supposed to be fun. They're more serious games, like the Dreadful Whispers, for example. But it's kind of a creative experience. It's a creative time. So if you're not enjoying yourself or having like some fulfillment to a certain degree, you're doing something wrong. So especially when starting out, focus on projects that will be a lot of fun to create. Even if they're complete crap, just enjoy yourself. It's super important not to take things too seriously. Like, this is not business or medicine or something. It's kind of like, it's games, it's entertainment in a way. So yeah, entertain yourself while working, and just be creative in any way you can.
Awesome. Those are some great tips there. Thank you so much.
No problem. My pleasure.
So you've been doing YouTube for, is it just over 2 years now?
It's just over 2 years, yeah.
And you managed to get around 180,000 subscribers in that time.
150,000. I've not reached the 80 yet.
I thought you did.
Soon.
You deserve way more.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, I'm pretty happy with the numbers at this point. It's good. That is a struggle, though, of mine, as you might have seen in some of my videos. I do often go on about the numbers and how we always want more numbers. At some point, you reach a certain, when I had 1,000 subscribers, I wanted 10,000. And then when I reached 10,000, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool, but now I need 100,000. So it can constantly go on and on. It's something we need to be careful of as people that use social media, or just, creative people. If we judge our work by the numbers of likes and views we get, then that can be very, very frustrating. We can just be very unfulfilled. So yeah, that's something to balance. Another tip for beginners is, yeah, don't focus too much on the attention you get or the validation you get initially, especially. You'll get hardly anything. Like, I was in the dark for 6 months. When I started my channel, I got about 500 subscribers, which is good, but it's like 6 months, 500 subscribers, which is not much at all, really. But then it started to go up very, very fast. And yeah, 2 years down the road, I got 150,000. So yeah, I mean, numbers, it's great, but it really does not bring you that much, your happiness, or yeah, it doesn't bring you much happiness. I don't think I'm any happier than I was when I had 10,000 now than when I'm at 150,000. I mean, if I am happier, it's not because of those numbers, really. So yeah, it's a double-edged sword. Of course, it's amazing to have an audience, and these numbers have helped me, turn game dev into my full-time job. It's like my full-time job. I'm getting paid for it. It's incredibly cool. But they do have that little nasty effect of wanting more. It becomes an addiction.
That's basically it. Thank you so much, Noah, for coming on this. I really appreciate it.
Glad I could help. Alright, thanks for watching this Echo Studios video. If you want to see more of me, you can check out my channel, of course, which is links below. And if you want to see more videos by Echo Studios, be sure to subscribe to this channel. Okay, goodbye guys.